many wicks from the cotton that the women gather wild in the summer. When he came back, it was with the bone I had commanded, and with news that in the igloo of Tummasook there was a 5-gallon kerosene can and a big copper kettle. So I said he had done well, and we would tarry through the day. And when midnight was near, I made harangue to him. "This chief, this Tummasook, hath a copper kettle, likewise a kerosene can." I put a rock, smooth and wave-washed, in Moosu's hand. "The camp is hushed, and the stars are winking. Go thou, creep into the chief's igloo softly, and smite him thus upon the belly, and hard. And let the meat and good grub of the days to come put strength into thine arm. There will be uproar and outcry, and the village will come hot afoot. But be thou unafraid. Veil thy movements and lose thy form in the obscurity of the night and the confusion of men. And when the woman Ipsukuk is anigh thee, she who smeareth her face with molasses, do thou smite her likewise, and whosoever else that possesseth flour and cometh to thy hand. Then do thou lift thy voice in pain, and double up with clasped hands, and make outcry in token that thou too hast felt the visitation of the night. And in this way shall we achieve honour and great possessions, and the caddy of Star, and the prime smoking, and thy Tukeliketa, who is a likely maiden." When he had departed on this errand, I bided patiently in the shack, and the tobacco seemed very near. Then there was a cry of affright in the night that became an uproar and assailed the sky. I seized the pain-killer and ran forth. There was much noise and a wailing among the women, and fear sat heavily on all. Tummasook and the woman Ipsukuk rolled on the ground in pain, and with them there were divers others, also Moosu. I thrust aside those that cluttered the way of my feet, and put the mouth of the bottle to Moosu's lips, and straightway he became well and ceased his howling. Whereat there was a great clamour for the bottle from the others so stricken. But I made harangue, and ere they tasted and were made well, I had mulcted Tummasook of his copper kettle and kerosene can, and the woman Ipsukuk of her sugar and molasses, and the other sick ones of goodly measures of flour. The shaman glowered wickedly at the people around my knees, though he poorly concealed the wonder that lay beneath. But I held my head high, and Moosu groaned beneath the loot as he followed my heels to the shack. There I set to work. In Tummasook's copper kettle I mixed 3 quarts of wheat flour with 5 of molasses, and to this I added of water 20 quarts. Then I placed the kettle near the lamp, that it might sour in the warmth and grow strong. Moosu understood, and said my wisdom passed understanding, and was greater than Solomon's, who he had heard was a wise man of old time. The kerosene can I set over the lamp, and to its nose affixed a snout, and into the snout the bone that was like a gooseneck. I sent Moosu without to pound ice while I connected the barrel of his gun with the gooseneck, and midway on the barrel I piled the ice he had pounded, and at the far end of the gun barrel beyond the pan of ice I placed a small iron pot. When the brew was strong enough, and it was 2 days ere it could stand on its own legs, I filled the kerosene can with it and lighted the wicks I had braided. Now that all was ready, I spoke to Moosu. "Go forth," I said, "to the chief men of the village, and give them greeting, and bid them come unto my igloo, and sleep the night away with me and the gods." The brew was singing merrily when they began shoving aside the skin flap and rolling in, and I was heaping cracked ice on the gun barrel. Out of the priming hole at the far end, drip, 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 into the iron pot fell the liquor, hooch, you know. But they'd never seen the like, and giggled nervously when I made harangue about its virtues. As I talked I noted the jealousy in the shaman's eye, so when I had done, I placed him side by side with Tummasook and the woman Ipsukuk. Then I gave them to drink, and their eyes watered and their stomachs warmed, till from being afraid they reached greedily for more. and when I had them well started, I turned to the others. Tummasook made a brag about how he had once killed a polar bear, and in the vigor of his pantomime nearly slew his mother's brother. But nobody heeded. The woman Ipsukuk fell to weeping for a son lost years agone in the ice, and the shaman made incantation and prophecy. So it went, and before morning they were all on the floor, sleeping soundly with the gods. The story tells itself, does it not? The news of the magic potion spread. It was too marvelous for utterance. Tongues could tell but a tithe of the miracles it performed. It eased pain, gave surcease to sorrow, brought back old memories, dead faces, and forgotten dreams. It was a fire that ate through all the blood, and, burning, burned not. It stoutened the heart, stiffened the back, and made men more than men. It revealed the future, and gave visions and prophecy. It brimmed with wisdom and unfolded secrets. There was no end of the things it could do, and soon there was a clamoring on all hands to sleep with the gods. They brought their warmest furs, their strongest dogs, their best meats, but I sold the hooch with discretion, and only those were favored that brought flour and molasses and sugar, and such stores poured in that I set Moosu to build a cache to hold them, for there was soon no space in the igloo. Ere 3 days had passed, Tummasook had gone bankrupt. The shaman, who was never more than half drunk after the first night, watched me closely and hung on for the better part of the week. But before 10 days were gone, even the woman Ipsukuk exhausted her provisions and went home weak and tottery. But Moosu complained. "Oh, master," he said, "we have laid by great wealth in molasses and sugar and flour, but our shack is yet mean, our clothes thin, and our sleeping furs mangy. There is a call of the belly for meat, the stench of which offends not the stars, and for tea such as Tummasook guzzles, and there is a great yearning for the tobacco of Neewak, who is shaman, and who plans to destroy us. I have flour until I am sick, and sugar and molasses without stint, yet is the heart of Moosu sore, and his bed empty." "Peace," I answered. "Thou art weak of understanding and a fool. Walk softly and wait, and we will grasp it all. But grasp now, and we grasp little, and in the end it will be nothing. Thou art a child in the way of the white man's wisdom. Hold thy tongue and watch, and I will show you the way my brothers do overseas. And so doing, gather to themselves the riches of the earth. It is what is called business. And what dost thou know about business?" But the next day he came in breathless. "Oh, master, a strange thing happeneth in the igloo of Neewak the shaman. Wherefore we are lost, and we have never worn the warm furs, nor tasted the good tobacco. What of your madness for the molasses and flour? Go thou and witness, whilst I watch the brew." So I went to the igloo of Neewak, and behold, he had made his own still, fashioned cunningly after mine. And as he beheld me, he could ill conceal his triumph. For he was a man of parts, and his sleep with the gods when in my igloo had not been sound. But I was not disturbed, for I knew what I knew, and when I returned to my own igloo, I decanted to Moosu and said, "Happily the property right obtains amongst this people, who otherwise have been blessed with but few of the institutions of men. And because of this respect for property, shall you and I wax fat, and, further, we shall introduce amongst them new institutions that other peoples have worked out through great travail and suffering." But Moosu understood dimly till the shaman came forth with eyes flashing and a threatening note in his voice, and demanding to trade with me. 'For look you,' he cried, 'there be of flour and molasses none in all the